as we watch the NHL Stanley Cup start, we watch the ending of the NBA Finals. And boy, oh boy, two teams that I did not want to see in the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics, who I can't stand, and the Golden State Shimmy Warriors. I know everybody wants to put Steph Curry on the top 10 NBA players of all time. It's ridiculous. Now, do I think Steph Curry is one of the greatest shooters we have ever seen? I think he's the greatest shooter in NBA history, especially in the regular season. In the playoffs, I would say Reggie Miller. And he did win 4 championships. And he finally won his playoff MVP, which I don't think he deserved. I believe Andrew Wiggins was the best player in that series. He absolutely dominated defensively. He took Tatum out of the series. He scored, he rebounded, he blocked, he did everything. Andrew Wiggins was as good as any defensive player we've seen in the playoff finals in a very long time, since LeBron James, since Andre Iguodala won an MVP when the Golden State Warriors won years and years ago. Golden State definitely deserved to win this series. They were the better team. No thanks to Draymond Green. No thanks to Klay Thompson. It was the intangibles. It was players like Andrew Wiggins, or Game 4, Steph Curry, or Jordan Poole hitting quarter shots half court, or what he did throughout the playoffs, Jordan Poole, and throughout the season when Steph Curry was hurt and Klay Thompson wasn't in that lineup. It was players on the bench, the Andre Iguodalas of the world, that came back to this team to be a leader. The intangibles of this team. And for Stephen A. Smith to come out and say Steve Kerr is one of the greatest coaches in NBA history, it's a joke. Me and anybody listening to the show right now could have coached that team in the primes of their career with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, and all the other players that they had. The Golden State Warriors have been very, very lucky. The year that they were horrible, they had a top 3 pick in Andrew Wiseman, who didn't play in the playoffs, but he is going to be a big piece to the future of this team. Is it fair? No, but that's the way the league wants it. Golden State is the Chicago Bulls of this era. Are they as good as the Chicago Bulls? No. That 90s Chicago Bulls team was probably the greatest team assembled we've ever seen. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Tony Kukoc, at one point Horace Grant, B.J. Armstrong, Steve Kerr, John Paxton. I could go on and on and on. This Golden State Warriors team has talent, and they're going to be good next year as well, because Steph Curry is still under contract. Klay Thompson is still under contract. Draymond Green is still under contract. Jordan Poole has another year on his contract. Wiseman will be here for a full season. And yes, Andrew Wiggins is under contract. I don't know how all these contracts are under on one team. It doesn't make any sense, but it is. Do I think Steph Curry is one of the overrated players in our history? Yes. He is a great shooter. He doesn't play defense. I listen to all these different analysts after they win a championship say that nobody appreciates Steph Curry. Nobody realized how good Steph Curry is until he's gone. Is Steph Curry better than Shaquille O'Neal? Is Steph Curry better than Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird? For anybody to put him in the same thought of those players is blind. He's not even in the top 5 point guards of all time. He's not better than Isaiah Thomas. He's not better than Jason Kidd. He's not even better than Chris Paul. And yes, you're going to say Chris Paul never won a championship. It's not Chris Paul's fault that he never played on an elite team like the Golden State Warriors. To say that Steph Curry isn't a Hall of Famer, then you would say I was a hater. He is a Hall of Famer. He's the leader of that team. He's one of the reasons why they won that championship. But he isn't the reason why they won that championship.
2 takeaways I look at with this Golden State Warriors team. One of which is there's youngsters that are taking over now. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green throughout this postseason as a whole weren't as big of factors as they normally are. And the rebounding end of it for Draymond Green and the defensive end of it did not look strong. Now, he was still good at passing. He hit his occasional threes. I'm not saying he's like washed up as a player, but he's definitely not what he was. And as an undersized power forward, it's very hard. And Klay Thompson definitely looked off defensively throughout the entire postseason. He had some good game shooting. Last 3 games of this series, he had some good game shooting against Dallas, fine. But he definitely was not the same type of player. It's the youngsters now that are going to take over this Golden State team. Now, you brought up what Stephen A. Smith was saying about Steve Kerr, and you're absolutely right in terms of him not being the legacy type coach of being one of the greatest coaches of all time just because he won 3 championships.
He won 4 championships.
Yeah, but I will say his coaching job this year, I think, earned a little more credibility with that because of all the injuries they had, because of all the young players that they had. I give him him more credit for that in comparison to the quote-unquote super teams with Kevin Durant and those Splash Brothers in their prime. But this one I give him a little more credit for out-coaching Memphis' coaching Taylor Jenkins, out-coaching Dallas' coach with Jason Kidd.
He didn't out-coach Memphis' coach. I'm not saying he told Jordan Poole to pull John Morant's knee, but as soon as that happened, that series was over.
But they also won a game before that, too, and outplayed the Grizzlies' depth, which was great during that season. And the same thing we say with the Celtics' depth. How good was the Celtics' depth playing all throughout this postseason? Golden State's depth outplayed it in certain points of this, and I give Steve Kerr some credit for that, too. In terms of Steph Curry, not a complete player all around, so whoever's putting him in the top 10 overall players of all time, no. Top 10 point guards, yeah, definitely is there at this point.
Top 5?
I wouldn't put him there either. He's probably like a 7 or 8. I think Chris Paul's the most complete all time. Probably the best dominance probably is Magic Johnson, but there's other arguments for Jason Kidd as well. I do want to say his value, though, still contributes in the whole aspect of this system where that kind of thing is not going to be taken away in comparison to Klay Thompson, in comparison to Draymond Green, of all the old guys. Steph Curry's still going to be the guy that runs this team. Steph Curry's still going to be the guy that runs the offense with the motion and with the shooting and what the Warriors like to do in terms of shooting threes. And I think this is the first postseason where, as a completed postseason, whether or not he should have won Finals MVP, he played the best all around. When Kevin Durant outplayed him in previous postseasons, Klay Thompson outplayed him in previous postseasons, he was the best consistent all around.
I think Andrew Wiggins was the most consistent in the NBA Finals. You want to give him the MVP because this might be the last time they're there. It's not easy getting there, and especially the Clippers are going to be better next year because Kawhi Leonard will be back, Paul George. The Nuggets could go after free agents in the offseason. I think the Boston Celtics are only going to be better because Tatum's there. Jaylen Brown is very young. Marcus Smart signed that extension last offseason. So this is a team that's going to be built for the playoffs next year again. So I don't think we've seen the last of the Boston Celtics, but this could be the last of the Golden State Warriors, especially the Western Conference. Nobody thought the Phoenix Suns were going to be as bad as they were against the Dallas Mavericks. Right. The Mavericks could be better next year, too, if they make a couple of moves as well. There are so many different players that could be on the move in the offseason. They could be worse. DeAndre Ayton could be gone. He could go somewhere else. The Lakers. Maybe he goes to Utah in a trade for Rudy Gobert.
I heard the Spurs are going to pursue him hard, too.
The Spurs could be the last year of Popovich, so maybe they make
a run. McGroom again, yeah.
There's so many things that could happen. I don't know if Golden State, now, talent-wise, they're going to still have the talent there. And with Wiseman in that lineup, they're going to have even more depth, which is scary to say, but you want to say the lottery is fixed? I really believe the NBA lottery is fixed. When they had one bad season, they somehow get in a top 5 in a COVID year, and they get arguably the best player in that draft in Wiseman, who hasn't been healthy for the last 2 years. But when he gets that figured out, he's a dangerous player. He's one of the more elite young power forwards that I think is going to be in this league. So it's crazy to say that they're going to be better next year.
And that's who's going to take over and probably be better at certain things because of his height. Draymond Green. Jordan Poole is going to take over Klay Thompson in terms of a full-time role. And you're going to see Andrew Wiggins have a bigger role throughout the trajectory of what the Golden State Warriors are going to be if they're going to get back again next year and in the future. And the depth, they've drafted a lot of wing depth already in the last couple drafts as well. Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. Damian Lee's been a solid backup point guard at times that could take over a Klay Thompson type role. So those guys are going to be faded out. The original Splash Brothers, the original core of those finals are going to be faded out, probably besides Steph Curry.
As far as this story with the 76ers giving James Harden $80 million together for 2 years, I don't think it's much of a story. Now, a lot of people think that James Harden should have taken the 5-year extension that he was going to get offered, but he wanted to get more money in a lesser time, or he believes that he is going to get another extension. Now, who knows what happens to James Harden? I still think he has a good 4 more years left in this league. I don't know what team's going to give him another extension after this 2 years, especially when he starts to play the way he has been playing in the playoffs. He has not played well in the playoffs. He has been a good regular season player. He's been one of the prolific offensive players in the regular season. This guy can't stay healthy. And he's pushed his way out of not one, but 2 different teams in the last 4 years. What is it going to take for Doc Rivers to say, you're no good and I want to get rid of you? And then he's going to force his way out of the 76ers. Where is he going to go then? The Lakers? The Knicks? I don't want him.
No.
He has forced himself out of the Rockets. He forced himself out of Brooklyn. What's it going to take for him and Embiid to not get along, or him and Harris not to get along, for him to be traded? Maybe he gets traded back to Brooklyn with Ben Simmons.
That'd be funny.
And Kevin Durant, as Kyrie Irving goes elsewhere in a 3-way trade. We've been hearing Russell Westbrook and his name being brought into trade talks, which I think is ridiculous. Who cares about James Harden? Because he hasn't done anything in the playoffs. He hasn't done anything to win. And he could be a great regular season player. Carmelo Anthony, for years, was a great regular season player. In the playoffs, not so much.
I would say Carmelo Anthony's had some better postseasons than even James Harden has had in certain years, too. In terms of the all-time legacy-wise, maybe James Harden with all the scoring titles he had and all that stuff.
No, I think Carmelo Anthony's a better player.
That's fair. Nevertheless, I think this is going to be a hard thing for any team to want to take on, to whether it's the Sixers and whether it's another team later on, if he does end up opting out of the 2-year deal just because of that. And also the regression he had in the regular season last year. He still was great with assists, 10.5, but was very inefficient, shot only 47% from field, and overall 40% for the whole year. 21 points a game, got off to a really slow start when Kyrie was out and Kevin Durant was playing great, but still trying to find his form again off the injury. And he had his worst stretch that year. And then in the playoffs for the Sixers, he became a third option. You're going to take a third option for that much money? That's going to be very, very hard for the Sixers or any team to trust. As far as the Kyrie Westbrook 3-way trade, it was reported that NBA insiders are thinking that it might be Kyrie to the Lakers, Russell Westbrook going to the Thunder back home, fan favorite over there, and the Thunder either eat the salary cap or buy him out, whatever. And the Nets will be getting 2 first-round picks from the Thunder. And
that's not going to make Kevin Durant very happy.
No, it's not. And they're going to have to hope that either they bank on a maybe multiple in a bad free agent class, or maybe they use that picks for something else, because they're going to either have to trade Kevin Durant or hope Kevin Durant works well with young players.
Well, they have Ben Simmons still there. I don't know.
And hope Ben Simmons plays,
Well, stay healthy. His emotional problems and his body problems. I don't know how much time Ben Simmons has left in this league. And that's crazy to say because he's still fairly a young player. But he got a big, huge contract from the 76ers, and it just didn't live up to it. As far as the NBA draft, that's going to be fun, and we'll see where the Knicks fall when it comes to the draft. There are some rumors that they could be trading up for Jaden Ivey. I would love to see the Knicks do something like that. That would be a big splash, but what are they going to have to trade to do it? That's the question. Are you going to trade away Obi Toppin or a Quigley to move up for Ivey? And is Ivey that player that's going to change your organization for the better? That's the question.
Yeah, there are rumors that the Kings are trying to move the number 4 pick as of right now, and the Pistons number 5 would be the other option if they wanted to trade into the top 5 in order to get Ivey, because odds are that is where he's going to go. He's thought of probably as the 3rd or 4th best prospect by a lot of these analysts, and I can't see him falling past 6. The Knicks would have to definitely give up their first-round pick, maybe another one, and then possibly one of those young players. I don't know about somebody like Obi Toppin, but maybe Quigley, maybe some of the kids they drafted the last 2 years too could definitely be involved in that kind of deal if they want him. The other thing is if the Knicks stay at 11, the 2 players they liked is Benedict Mathurin, the shooting guard out of Arizona. They might have to trade up a little if they want him. Also Johnny Davis from Wisconsin, a good scorer, 3-point shooter as well.